Behind every legend lies a reason. This is Myth and Motive.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will explore Vladivostok, an extremely special city in Russia. In Russian, Vladivostok means ruler of the East. The name alone speaks volumes about the Russians' ambition and the importance of this port city. Not only a place for trade and commerce with major partners in the region such as China, North Korea, and Japan, Vladivostok is also the base of one of the world's most powerful fleets, the Pacific Fleet. However, many may not know that this city's area was originally part of Chinese territory and was seized by Russia. To this day, China still regrets losing that land and constantly demands that Russia return it. Today, we will explore Vladivostok and the reasons why China lost this port city. This particularly important position fell into the hands of the ladies and gentlemen. Please enjoy the performance. Vladivostok is a port city in the Russian Far East, located on a peninsula surrounded by the Sea of Japan, the border with China and North Korea. To travel from this city to the capital Moscow, you would have to cover nearly 9,000 kilometers by road or 6,407 kilometers as the crow flies. Vladivostok has a humid continental climate, influenced by monsoons, with warm, humid, rainy summers and cold, dry winters. Due to a strong oceanic influence in the summer, Vladivostok has a relatively cold annual climate compared to its actual latitude. The city's annual average temperature range is about 5 degrees Celsius. Historically, the land now known as Vladivostok was originally part of the ancestral territory of the Manchu people in northeast China. After the Qing dynasty completed the conquest of China, they called this area Haishenwai, which means a marsh with abundant sea cucumbers. To this day, the Chinese government still insists that Mass must use the correct name, Haishenwai, for the city. For many reasons, the Qing dynasty strictly restricted Han Chinese from coming to this area. Only sea cucumber harvesters came here during the harvesting season, so this area was historically quite desolate and deserted. It was this very desolation that prevented the Qing dynasty from exercising tight control. In 1842, Britain initiated the West's war with China through the Opium War. Crying is truly the Qing dynasty losing Hong Kong. Not long after, the Western powers, Britain, France, the United States, and Russia, once again confronted the Qing dynasty in the Second Opium War. This time, Russia, along with Britain, France, and the United States, divided the spoils gained. The Qing dynasty unilaterally signed an unequal treaty called the Aigun Treaty in 1858. Accordingly, over 600,000 kilometers of Chinese territory, equivalent to nearly twice the size of Vietnam, was lost to Russia. Among the lost territories were the entire left bank of the Amur River, the ancestral land of the Manchu people, as well as Sakhalin Island and the present-day city of Vladivostok. As of now, the Treaty of Aigun signed with Russia in 1858 is still considered one of the most humiliating events in Chinese history. What the government calls on the people to always remember by heart. Not only did it lose 60,000 square kilometers of territory, but it also permanently cost China access to the Sea of Japan, leaving behind geopolitical consequences. In 1860, the Russian Empire officially established the city of Vladivostok and turned it into the most important major naval base on the Pacific coast. Although the land is already in hand, Russia remains very. The 1868 Mazda campaign was the first Russian attempt to expel Chinese residents from their newly acquired territory. Hostilities erupted around Vladivostok as Russians attempted to halt gold mining operations and expel Chinese workers there. For over 50 years, the city was built slowly, and it was not until 1916 that a railway connected Vladivostok with other cities. After the October Revolution, the Bolsheviks took control of Vladivostok and the entire Trans-Siberian railway system. During the Russian Civil War from May 1918, they lost control of the city to the Czechoslovak Legion, an ally of the White Army. The city officials declared the city was a protected area by the Allied forces. Vladivostok became a focal point for the Allied intervention in Siberia, a multinational force including Japan, the United States, and China. However, not long after, the Allied forces had to retreat. In April 1920, the city was under the official rule of the East Vietnamese Republic, a buffer state backed by the Soviet Union and Japan. Vladivostok subsequently became the capital of the provisional primary government. It was established after the White Army's coup in the city in May 1921. In October 1922, Japan withdrew its troops, and the Soviet Red Army under the command of Haishenwai Borodich recaptured the city on October 25, 1922. Previously, Vladivostok was a closed city. Not just anyone could enter, especially foreigners, as it was the main naval base of the Soviet Pacific Fleet. Mentioning the Pacific Fleet means mentioning the armed might of the Soviet Union. It was established in 1731 as part of the Russian Navy. The fleet was known as the Okhotsk Military Fleet from 1731 to 1856 and the Siberian Military Fleet from 1856 to 1918. It was established to protect Russia's interests in the Far East along the Pacific coast. In 1918, the fleet was inherited by Soviet Russia. By 1922, it became part of the Soviet Navy, underwent several reorganizations before being dissolved in 1926. In 1932, the fleet was re-established as the Pacific Fleet. During the Soviet years, the fleet was also responsible for Soviet naval operations in the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the fleet was inherited by the Russian Federation. The Pacific Fleet is one of the 5 main fleets of the Russian Navy, responsible for the Pacific Ocean, including disputed areas with Japan and part of the Arctic. The fleet possesses 46 surface warships and 24 to 26 submarines, including strategic missile submarines of the Bore class, advanced nuclear attack submarines of the Haishenwai class and Vladivostok class submarines with super torpedoes club. The force also controls several naval aviation regiments equipped with Tu-142 and Il-38 anti-submarine aircraft, and heavy interceptors MiG-31, along with 2 naval infantry brigades and some coastal defense units operating hypersonic missile complexes, including Bastion. The flagship of the Russian Pacific Fleet is the cruiser Varyu, one of the most powerful in the world. The ship is equipped with extremely powerful and formidable weapon systems, including long-range anti-ship missiles V-500 Basalt Improved, SSN-12 Sandbox, as called by NATO with a range of up to 550 kilometers. The missiles are guided by combined inertial and active radar. In addition, Varyu is also equipped with a modern long-range air defense missile system S-300M, with high anti-jamming capability and can destroy aircraft at a distance of 200 missiles at a distance of 40 kilometers. This cruiser also uses 533mm torpedoes, some rapid response anti-air missiles, multi-purpose naval guns, super-fast guns, long-range multi-purpose 3D target search radar Mr. 800, air target search radar Mr. 710 Frigate MA and several other modern electronic systems. Another star in the Russian Pacific Fleet is the destroyer B-3 of the Sovremeny class. Although born in the 80s, B-3 is still ranked among the world's most powerful destroyers. With a diverse weapon system and both offensive and defensive capabilities, such as P-270 Mossgate cruise missiles with a range of up to 120 kilometers, 3 S-90 Uridan anti-air missiles, multi-purpose naval guns and 533mm torpedoes. Currently, the Russian Pacific Fleet's operations include 2 Bore-class nuclear-powered submarines, the Vladimir Monomakh and the Alexander Nevsky. This is a new type of strategic nuclear submarine, 170 meters long, 13.5 meters wide, with a displacement of 24,000. Previously, in the 1990s and 2000s, the Pacific Fleet lost many units. Within a few years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the fleet lost all its aircraft carriers and by 2000 only 1 cruiser remained operational. By the late 2010s, the fleet consisted of 1 large missile cruiser, 5 destroyers, 10 nuclear submarines, 8 diesel-electric submarines, plus many light units, landing ships and auxiliary vessels. From July 5 to 12, 2013, warships from the Russian Pacific Fleet and the Chinese Navy's North Sea Fleet participated in Joint Sea 2013, a bilateral naval exercise held in Peter the Great Bay. Joint Sea 2013 was the largest naval exercise the Chinese Navy conducted with a foreign navy. In 2021, a Sino-Russian squadron sailed around Japan, passing between Japanese islands through the Tsugaru Strait and then the Soya Strait. The Russian ships in the squadron, including the destroyers Admiral Pantalayev and Admiral Tributes, the corvettes Aldar Saidanjapov and Gromky, as well as support forces. Plans to deploy new large units to the fleet were announced in the early 2010s. Several new ballistic missile submarines with large cruisers were expected to join the fleet. However, these plans evolved throughout the decade, with the focus shifting in 2020 to light units and submarines to modernize the fleet. The current focus of the fleet is on new multi-purpose frigates, multi-purpose missile corvettes, and all types of new submarines. All ships of these classes are expected to enter service and operate in 2020. Additionally, the Pacific Fleet's amphibious capability will be modernized by the mid-2020s after purchasing several Ivan Gren-class landing ships and possibly one of the new Priboi-class helicopter assault ships. During the war period, the Soviet Navy, specifically the Pacific Fleet, provided enormous assistance to Vietnam. That assistance greatly contributed to the victory of the Vietnamese army and people in the war against American invasion. During the Vietnam War, in the operational area of the U.S. Air Force and Navy in the Western Pacific, including Guam, the strategic Air Force bases of the U.S. Air Force in the South China Sea and the Gulf of Tonkin, reconnaissance activities were carried out by the warship squadron of the 38th Reconnaissance Brigade of the Pacific Fleet. The mission of this brigade was to solve tasks of providing military intelligence, helping the air defense system of North Vietnam to actively defend and counterattack against U.S. aircraft attacks. The city hosted the summit where Leonid Brezhnev and Gerald Ford conducted strategic arms limitation negotiations in 1974. At that time, the two countries decided to limit the number of various nuclear weapon systems and prohibit the construction of new land-based intercontinental missile launchers. Still the base of the powerful Pacific Fleet, Vladivostok is no longer the top-secret area of the Soviet Union but has transformed into one of the largest port cities, known as the eastern outpost of the Russian Empire today. To develop the city of Vladivostok, Moscow in 2012 spent $20 billion to invest in renovating Vladivostok for the 8X summit. The giant cable-stayed bridge with a cost of $1 billion was also built to connect to Rusky Island with a population of 5,000 people. Despite its name, the bridge is named the Bridge to Rusky Island. This is the longest cable-stayed bridge in the world and an impressive work created by French builders and experts from East Asia. Rusky Island once played an important role in military affairs during the Soviet period. The island is like a huge shield protecting the city of Vladivostok from the south. Over the past 150 years, many military units have been stationed in forts established in many places on the large island. The island was once very strictly guarded. Even the residents of Vladivostok had to have special permission to visit the island. Vladivostok developed thanks to President Vladimir Putin converting it into a free seaport. By cutting a series of paperwork procedures and setting unprecedented regulations to protect investors. Within a century, Vladivostok became the most famous and colorful European city in the Far East. The more Vladivostok develops, the more anxious China becomes. Although it lost this land to Russia long ago, until now, China has never stopped coveting it. In 2020, on the 160th anniversary of the founding of Vladivostok City, many Chinese diplomats, journalists, and nationalists reacted strongly to Russia's congratulatory post about the city. Chinese netizens believed that Russia was taking provocative actions against China's sovereignty. They recalled the historical lesson that Primorsky Krai and Vladivostok were once Chinese territories. Today, we can only endure. But Chinese people will always remember this ancestral land from generation to generation. We hope this land can return in the future. Meanwhile, the Russian side seemed not too concerned about this matter and did not issue any response. However, Russia remains vigilant against China along their 4,209 kilometers border. Precaution is necessary, but that doesn't mean Russia should cut off business relations with China. In 2023, after 163 years, Russia reopened this important hub port to enhance trade with a billion-person market. China added Russia's Vladivostok port to the list of transit ports for transporting domestic goods across the border in Jilin province, northeast China. Vladivostok is Russia's largest port on the Pacific coast, with annual container throughput reaching nearly 30 million tons. For the first time in 163 years, goods from Heilongjiang and Jilin provinces can be shipped directly to sea without needing land transport to Liaoning province first. The distance from Jilin and Heilongjiang to ports in Liaoning is over 1,000 kilometers, while the distance from some cities in Heilongjiang and Jilin to Vladivostok is only about 200 kilometers, significantly reducing transportation costs. Using foreign ports for cargo transport also helps China diversify its domestic industrial supply chain and supply chains with neighboring countries. The opening of Russia's Far East region is also part of the goal to strongly promote trade exchanges between Russia and China. Some experts believe this opening also helps boost trade growth between China and Russia, especially transit trade, bringing huge benefits to economic development and contributing to reviving old industrial bases in northeast China. For Russians, Vladivostok plays an important role in directly connecting the country with Northeast Asian nations, as well as the Pacific coast, while for North Koreans, Russia's far eastern city clearly serves as a window to the outside world beyond Western isolation. According to reports published by the Russian government, Vladivostok was once home and workplace to at least 15,000 North Korean workers. Before strict sanctions against North Korea were tightened in 2017, they were particularly hard-working and careful workers. Take long breaks, didn't. A website of a North Korean labor recruitment company in Vladivostok, Russia wrote about workers from North Korea. According to estimates published by CNN, North Korea earned at least $120 million USD annually from workers in Russia. Mostly originated from Vladivostok, this was once an important revenue source for North Korea, helping the country's economic and social development. In May 2017, North Korea launched a special ferry connecting its Rajan port with Russia's Vladivostok city to serve citizens traveling between the two countries. This was one of North Korea's rare ferry routes connecting the country with others in the region. Experts at the time confirmed that opening this route marked Pyongyang's strong efforts to develop trade and tourism relations with its neighbor. In December 2017, UN Security Council Resolution 2397 was adopted, requiring UN member states to repatriate all North Korean workers earning income in their countries within 24 months, i.e., before December 2019. Before this deadline, Russia had not made any official statement, while Pyongyang officials earnestly requested Moscow to continue hiring North Korean workers. Meanwhile, RIA Novosti reported that besides labor and tourism cooperation, Moscow and Pyongyang were also pursuing several economic projects. Rajan Port and Russia. Russia has long shown desire to transport abundant mineral resources like oil and ore to large but resource-poor Asian economies like Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Clearly, the route through North Korea is the shortest and most convenient. For North Korea, opening a route to Russia is a rare opportunity for economic development. In 2011, Kim Jong-un's father Kim Jong-il visited Siberia to discuss gas pipeline and electricity projects with then Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. However, due to various factors, these projects have not been implemented to date. Clearly, besides seeking Russian support on denuclearization issues, North Korea certainly hopes the historic summit with President Vladimir Putin is an important opportunity to open various cooperation areas between the two countries, including trade cooperation. Therefore, choosing Vladivostok as the venue for the 2019 Russia-North Korea summit, besides possibly shortening Chairman Kim Jong-un's travel distance, clearly shows the genuine desire for connection between Russian and North Korean leaders. Perhaps because of its rugged, strong beauty, Vladivostok has chosen the Amur tiger as the city's symbol. The Amur tiger, also known as the Siberian tiger, is the largest tiger species on Earth. This massive and powerful creature can be called the ultimate predator, standing at the top of the food chain. Tigers attack and eat animals smaller than themselves. A hungry tiger can even attack bears. However, Amur tigers never kill more animals than they need for survival. Since 2000, Vladivostok has held Tiger Day, an ecological holiday where citizens dress in tiger costumes and parade along main streets. The main goal of this action is to annually draw public attention to conserving the Amur tiger population living in Primory and Khabarovsk regions. The most surprising thing about Vladivostok is that the city bears deep marks of President Ho Chi Minh, who visited 3 times. He visited here in 1924, 1927, and 1934. In 1924, following Comintern instructions, he secretly traveled from Moscow to Guangzhou, China, with the mission of connecting and building movements with patriotic Vietnamese youth. This was an important period for preparing theoretical, propaganda, organizational work and cadre training, laying the foundation for establishing the Communist Party of Vietnam. During this trip, he visited Vladivostok in November 1924 and stayed at Hotel Versailles at 10 Boslanskaya Street. Here, President Ho Chi Minh wrote about Asian issues, which he published in 1925. In early May 1927, Uncle Ho traveled from Hong Kong to Shanghai, then to Vladivostok before returning to Moscow on June 15. In May 1934, according to documents, he boarded a Soviet cargo ship from Shanghai to Astara. Along the way, the ship stopped at Vladivostok. This port city is also considered the rescue place of the outstanding leader of the Vietnamese people. From the pursuit of the French colonialists during the time, he was wandering to find a way to save the country and liberate a nation from domination. In 2008, to preserve the memory of the visits of the Vietnamese revolutionary leader to Vladivostok, the Vietnamese Consulate General in Vladivostok, together with the city government and the Russia-Vietnam Friendship Association of Primory Region, submitted a request to the Russian Railway Company proposing to attach a memorial plaque of President Ho Chi Minh on the Vladivostok railway station building. The plaque is engraved with the words, in 1924, 1927, and 1934, Ho Chi Minh, a national and international liberation activist recognized by UNESCO. A national liberation hero of Vietnam, a famous cultural activist, who laid a solid foundation for Russia-Vietnam friendship, came to Vladivostok. The affection of the people of Vladivostok as well as the Vietnamese people living here for Uncle Ho has not stopped. On July 5, 2019, in the park on Borisenko Street near the Sportivnaya market area, where many Vietnamese people trade, the Ho Chi Minh Monument was inaugurated. The mayor of Vladivostok, Oleg Gumenyuk, affirmed that President Ho Chi Minh has been and will always be a part of Vietnamese culture and history, and the Uncle Ho Monument in Vladivostok will become a famous tourist destination, and this square will be the intersection of Russia-Vietnam friendship. Although located in the remote Far East, Vladivostok has an extremely favorable position and plays an important role in both economy and defense. Such a valuable place being lost to Russia will certainly make China regret for many more years. This beautiful land also holds many memories of Uncle Ho. This will definitely be an interesting destination for those who love Russia, history, and Russia-Vietnam relations. Don't forget to follow the channel so you don't subscribe to the Gian Migo channel so you don't miss exciting videos.
If the legend hooked you, subscribe and open the next case.